In the next 30 minutes of Business Live, we assess Ghana's food security situation in the midst of the COVID-19 pandemic as World Food Day is commemorated globally. Also, Ghana International Trade Commission debunks claims the declaration against dumping of aluminum coils from China will spark a trade feud between Ghana and the superpower. And ratings agency Fitch will not review Ghana's credit rating of B with a stable outlook status anytime soon. We'll tell you why. I'm Israel Lyon. Business Live comes up shortly. Radio is a principal medium for receiving climate information by most farmers, and social media happens to be the least. This is part of the findings by the Environmental Science Department of the Kwame Nkrumah University of Science and Technology. The findings, made known at a Climate Information Services workshop in Kumasi, saw 74.6% of farmers relying on radio and 2.1% on social media for climate information. Philip Ntwi-Ejay is an associate professor at the Environmental Science Department of the Kwame Nkrumah University of Science and Technology, and he tells us more.
Because of our study showed that over 40% of farmers in the study area in Upper East region are not getting access to climate information, and this has implication for our farming communities. These are rainfall dependent agricultural farmers or agricultural systems, and therefore if they cannot have access to climate information, that will help them to build their capacity to address the effects of climate change. It's a challenge that we need to address. Of course, Ghana's agricultural system is purely dependent on rainfall. It means that anytime there are disruptions in the rain patterns, it affects our agricultural systems. But we also need to understand that as a country, climate change poses or presents significant challenges for the attainment of food security and attainment of our nationally determined contribution that have been submitted to as part of the Paris Climate Agreement. And we need to do whatever is within our capacity to address some of the challenges that is posed by climate change, especially for our smallholder farmers whose livelihoods are being threatened by climate change and its associated impacts. You know, farmers need to have access to some of these communication gadgets so as to be able to access climate information. Radios, deep forecasts on radios. So if farmers cannot have radios to access the information, then they find themselves in difficult position. Television is also another key thing that farmers need to get access to. So it is believed that if farmers have access to these kinds of gadgets or these kinds of assets, then they can access timely climate information. And we need to be aware that even though climate change presents significant challenges, if farmers can access climate information, they will be able to build their capacity to address the many challenges that are posed by climate change on their livelihoods. And we should encourage our farmers to access climate information for whatever farming system that they are doing. The government should have, I think the government is doing well, but we could do much more in terms of having a holistic approach in addressing the issues pertaining to climate change. I think that in the sub-region, Ghana has done so well in terms of coming out with a number of policies. We have a national climate change policy, we have a national climate change adaptation strategy, we have a number of frameworks that guide climate change adaptation planning in the country. But farmers need to be supported in terms of having access to the necessary assets that can help them to address the impacts of climate change.
The Director of Crop Services at the Ministry of Food and Agriculture said that Koto is urging maize farmers in the country to cultivate hybrid maize seeds. He said hybrid maize seeds yields are better than the open pollinated variety. Speaking with Joy Business at an agricultural input fair and stakeholder sensitization event in Sunyani, said Koto, who launched a manual for the production of hybrid maize, said it will support farmers to increase yield beyond the 6 tons per hectare currently being produced.
Manual that has been produced by our research institutions, namely Crop Research Institute and then Savannah Agricultural Institute, both under the Council for Scientific and Industrial Research. We are promoting the use of improved seeds. But when it comes to maize, all these years we have relied on the use of open pollinated varieties. This event, we are using it to launch this manual to support farmers how to produce hybrid seed maize, so that as a country you stop the importation. From 2017 to date, maize productivity has increased from 1.8 metric tons to 3.5 metric tons if you consider open pollinated varieties. Regarding hybrid maize seeds, yields are up at 6 tons per hectare. So that is why the emphasis is on the adoption of hybrid seeds to be used by farmers.
He also said the ministry would give about 14,000 metric tons of improved rice seeds to farmers to help achieve the government's target of self-sufficiency in rice production by 2023.
21. We are going to give almost 14,000 metric tons of rice seeds to farmers to plant. If we are going to use population density rate of 50 kilograms per hectare to plant, the quantity of seeds that we want to distribute can plant estimated area of 268,000 hectares. With the current productivity levels of 4 tons per hectare obtained by farmers, it means it translates to over 1 million tons of paddy rice. If in Ghana the recovery rate of processing is about 69%, then that translates to almost close to 800 million tons of milled rice. And that would take us to 75% self-sufficiency. That is 2021. So if all things being equal, you can continue giving a lot of seeds, improved seeds of rice to farmers, and then fertilizers, then extension. We are confident that we can attain self-sufficiency by 2023.
Alliance for a Green Revolution in Africa, AGRA, is advocating digital transformation to reduce the cost of transactions between farmers and farm input dealers. The alliance believes this will also shore up the confidence of financial institutions in farmers. Speaking with Joy Business at a 2-day agricultural input fair and stakeholder sensitization event in Sunyani, Dr. Victor Entry, Head of Input Distribution and Agro-Dealer Development at AGRA, said inclusive agricultural transformation will be achieved if the right inputs are used to increase productivity. There is more from Precious Semerville.
The 2-day agricultural input fair and stakeholder sensitization in Sunyani under the theme Synergies for Agricultural Transformation through the Value Chain Approach is to facilitate a long-lasting relationship among the agro-input dealers, farmers, financial institutions and other stakeholders. It is aimed at helping to achieve increased output. Juliana Asante-Date is the lead consultant for agribusiness in sustainable natural African plant products.
We came together as the 5 members of the consortium and then were to reach 143,000 farmers in the northern Ghana, BA, and also in the Afram Plains. We've realized the centrality of inputs. So we are talking about hybrid seed, we are talking about improved seed, and we're also talking about good quality agro inputs. We want to connect you directly to the agro inputs distributors and dealers so that those business relationships are facilitated. And even when the project is no more, you will know exactly where to go for the inputs that you need to use so that you can achieve the productivity that will result in increased output.
Addressing the opening session of the fair, the president of African Fertilizer and Agribusiness Partnership, AFAP, Jason Scarpon, expressed hope the support of all stakeholders during the COVID-19 period will be sustained.
Many of the countries where I go, there's a real feeling of being shut down, dislocated, not working, looking to be rescued, saved, supported, and work has deteriorated. It's not what I've seen in Ghana. I've been nothing less than shocked at the efforts the agri-dealers are making to continue with their business, to continue serving smallholder farmers. The efforts of the ministry, the efforts of AGRA, the efforts of all the partners to sustain the good work we're doing during this difficult time.
Dr. Victor Entry, Head of Input Distribution and Agro-Dealer Development at Alliance for a Green Revolution in Africa, AGRA, told Joy Business digitization of farmers and farming input comes with many benefits, including the cost of a transaction.
What we need to do is to bring to the table the farmer, to bring to the table the processor, to bring to the table the financial institution, to bring to the table the input dealer. But we can do all these when we can be assured that I could trace you to where you are. That's where this traceability that the government is doing is very important. So with the digitization, it will go a long way to reduce transaction costs. It will also go a long way to bring the confidence that the bank will have in the farmer and also the processor in the farmer, so that if they are going to put up some level of guarantee, it will be easy. You don't need to take transport to go there and beg and then ask them to supply you. On the platform, the person will know how much you have in your accounts. If there's an overdraft facility that the bank has given to you, the farmer, who is based in Dunyana, for instance, then the farmer will know, look, when he presses the button, his or her accounts will be debited. And when you supply him, he can also produce using the right inputs to increase productivity. And then this inclusive agricultural transformation that we are talking about for Africa to feed itself and feed the rest of the world will come to fruition.
For Joy Business, Precious Semevo, Sunyani.
Today is World Food Day. The day is observed on October 16 every year to tackle global hunger and strive to eradicate hunger across the world, and Ghana is no exception. This year's edition is themed Grow, Nourish, Sustain Together. Our actions are our future. Today, we want to look at the food security situation here in Ghana amidst a pandemic, and helping via Zoom with her expertise on the subject is the FAO representative in Ghana and Deputy Regional Representative Jocelyn Brown Hall. Thank you very much for making time to speak with us. Now, the FAO has been engaging the government for over 50 years on food security. How has Ghana performed?
Well, first of all, thank you for having me here tonight. And I would say Ghana is a leader in the region and throughout the continent and through the world. There has been significant resources put in the ministries of the various ministries that address food security. Those include not just food and agriculture, but fisheries and aquaculture development. We just heard from environment. Also, Ghana is the secretariat for the African Continental Free Trade Agreement, which is going to be an incredibly important tool in our food security toolkit. So the government has flagship programs to improve productivity, as well as for rearing for food secure jobs in one district, not just focusing on agriculture production, but on the whole value chain for production and for food. So I would say Ghana is actually a leader. Of course, there's always room for improvement. We have too many malnourished people in Ghana and throughout the continent and in the globe, and we have people who are eating too much. There's an obesity pandemic as well. So we have a lot of challenges, and that's why our theme is around working on this together. Everyone has a role to play. Everyone from the individual to the private sector to the media. Thank you for having me, and the government. Thank you.
All right, so when you talk about we being a leader, or Ghana being a leader, suggests that, as you indicated, yes, we're doing quite well as far as food being available generally, but then you've also highlighted the fact that, yes, we're having challenges. I want you to highlight on the challenges. What are some of the areas that we need to really work on?
Well, in Ghana, as with every country, when I give my answer, I don't want to single out Ghana, but every country needs to work on nutrition. And we are proud to have partnered with the University of Ghana on setting some dietary guidelines so that people understand what good nutrition is. Actually, nutrition begins at home. It's very micro. It begins in the kitchen, at the kitchen table, with parents and their children. So that's an area definitely for some improvement. And as I said, I don't want to just say that people who don't have enough food are malnourished. People who eat too much food are also malnourished because they have a higher propensity for diabetes and hypertension and those kinds of things. So there's always room for improvement, but those particular areas I think are something that the government of Ghana could be a leader on, not just in Africa but throughout the world.
All right, and then we also had the COVID-19 pandemic, which especially during the lockdown, when people had to, they couldn't go about their business as usual. Food security, I believe, at that point was tested. How did we fare in trying to address the challenge?
Well, there's 2 points that I want to make about that. First of all, right now, the food security challenge is around access to food, which means that people don't have enough money to purchase food. That is where the lockdown really hit. The food availability, as far as our numbers know and our data goes, which we believe is very strong, the food availability issues are not there yet, but we need to make sure that we get seeds into the hands of farmers, that we support them with different policies and different products so that they can continue ensuring that we have availability. That's one point. 2 is, yes, certainly the lockdown did harm some low-income people, some vulnerable people. I believe the government of Ghana did a very good job trying to get food to people, especially through innovative ways, through making sure that children, for example, and school children who didn't get their food, the government of Ghana, I think, has worked hard on trying to either get them their food or try to reopen schools safely. So I think there has been a lot of progress done and a lot of models there. Of course, there are still, nearly 20% of people in Ghana are undernourished on a regular day pre-COVID. And so there's obviously a room for improvement. I might add one thing, and I think we've kind of lost the plot on this with the COVID pandemic, is let's not forget that COVID-19 was an animal disease that jumped to humans. It's what we call a zoonosis, is when a disease jumps from animals to humans. And I think not just Ghana, but the entire world has kind of lost that thread. Animal diseases comprise up to 70% of human diseases, and we really need to make sure that our animal health systems, our vaccination systems, our food safety practices around animals are strong. And that is really an area of improvement for the entire world.
And let's also look at our productivity levels, at the rate at which we're producing, or at our the current productivity levels. Are we sure, or how long can that take us, especially because the population is growing and so we need more food? Are our productivity levels good enough to keep us, or to ensure that we're having food in the long term?
Well, thank you for that question. It's a very important one. My understanding from working with the Ministry of Food and Agriculture is that the yields recently have been quite good. But it's not just about yields to make food available for people. It's the road systems, it's the trucking system, it's the processing system, it's the packaging system. All of these systems need to be in place to ensure that we can get the right food. A country that I've worked in that I won't name could, not Ghana, but another country I've worked in that I won't name, could produce enough of its own rice. But because the infrastructure and the roads were so bad, it was cheaper for people to import rice from the United States than it was for them to actually transport that rice 10 kilometers away because the roads were so bad. So it's not just about the yields, it's about the whole system, the whole value chain, what we call farm to fork or farm to mouth, where we need to focus on and make sure that the food that people need gets to their tables and it's affordable for them.
All right, thank you very much. Jocelyn Brown Hall is the FAO representative in Ghana. Thank you for your time. Now, moving on, the Ghana International Trade Commission has debunked claims that its declaration against dumping of aluminium coils from China will spark a trade feud. The Commission Thursday ruled in favor of Alawix, saying the importation of aluminium coil is causing material injury to the Ghanaian domestic industry. Executive Secretary of the Commission, Frank Ejikum, tells Joy Business the ruling is in conformity with World Trade Organization's regulations on domestic trading.
Us that these regulations that you are using, that we should also use in our country. It's not to stem, and since we are all part of WTO and we've signed on to WTO regulations, we should be able to abide by the WTO regulations. So if you come and say that because you're a big country and whatever, I mean, then it means that you are trying to make us always what? Drawers of water. We all know that the bane of our development is that most times it's been said, and it's a truism, that industries in countries like ours are unable to thrive. And you set up an industry, and as it's growing, very soon they break down. When they break down, it means that people lose employment, profits are lost, and the government is not able to get the taxes for development as it needs, and so development is retarded. But under WTO regulations, there is a caveat for countries, all countries in the world, to set up such commissions as ours to deal with unfair trade practices, because many a time the reason why our industries fail is due to unfair trade practices, where products are dumped on our markets, and so they make our markets, our products, uncompetitive. WTO has realized that these are some of the things that go against us. And in dumping here, we talk about, it's a very technical thing we look at, because dumping in this sense means that the product has been imported into Ghana from some country, is being sold at a cheaper rate in Ghana than even in their own countries. So you see that it's a specific and well-purposed thing that is done to break industries in our parts of the world. That's why we are not able to compete on an even keel. So such commissions as ours has come to try and reverse this. And if you see, all developed countries have such commissions protecting their markets, making sure that local industries thrive. So what the government has done through President Akufo-Addo is to make sure that we have some such institution here in Ghana to also protect our local manufacturing industries, to enable them to grow, to employ more people, to create more surplus and therefore pay more taxes for us to be able to build the roads, the schools, the hospitals, and whatever, and bring development and productivity and well-being to the Ghanaian.
Ratings agency Fitch will not review Ghana's credit rating anytime soon, at least not until after the December elections or early next year. This comes as welcome news since Ghana's capacity to borrow will remain intact going forward. Charles Nixon Yeboah has the details.
Comes after the International Ratings Agency downgraded Zambia's long-term foreign currency issuer default rating to C from CC. Fitch said the recent downgrade of Zambia's rating could herald a series of sovereign defaults in sub-Saharan Africa, where several rated sovereigns face acute liquidity pressures and very high debt levels. The ratings agency had earlier warned Ghana that its slow fiscal consolidation process could be a subject of downgrade of its credit rating. But Fitch is keeping Ghana's rating at B with a stable outlook for now. The decision is due to an expected improvement in the country's economy post-easing of COVID-19 restrictions. It also believes the marginal economic growth could increase its tax revenue up from the revised figure. Meanwhile, the International Monetary Fund is urging G20 countries to deliberate on the extension of the debt service suspension initiative for at least another 6 months from the end of 2020 and for the option to extend it further if necessary. In addition, the Bretton Woods institution is calling for further private sector participation. It's made the call at the ongoing IMF World Bank annual meeting.
And our quick take today is on the landmark Trade Commission's ruling.
We're also letting them know and respect us that there are these regulations that you are using that we should also use in our country. It's not to stem, and since we are all part of the WTO and we've signed on to the WTO regulations, we should be able to abide by the WTO regulations.
And that'll be all for Business Live. My name is JoyNews. Do make a date with me at 7 p.m. for JoyNews Prime.